Hey guys, Nick here, and welcome back to my Supergirl episode review. My thoughts on tonight's episode of Supergirl titled City of Lost Children. And I gotta say, I think this is one of my favorite episodes of the season and of the show so far. Because for anyone who's watched me for the last number of weeks, you guys know how much I've been complaining about the lack of storyline that James has had. And other than him being Guardian and having some cool action sequences, there really hasn't been too much that the writers have been doing with him. And it's been frustrating because they've been focusing on like Mon-El and stuff, and it's just like this episode, more than any other episode, shows us how great of a character James is. And I feel like this episode in particular touched on a couple of different things, like just I think like because obviously one of the themes of this episode I think was just race and how Marcus was able to look up to James because they looked similar, and and how that kind of played into their bond, and just how and the little actor who played Marcus, for anyone who watches the show This Is Us, he's the actor who plays
Randall.
Everyone's hi to Amy.
Hi.
All right, Amy's playing with her new spinny toy. So
It's a fidget spinner and it's a fidget cube.
Oh,
And it's important
there you go.
for anxiety. I recommend it. I already feel calmer. I'm not making fun of people with anxiety. I'm serious.
I know you
Just
are.
for the record.
I know you are. All right, well, anyways, back to the episode. Again, I just think like this was just one of the most emotionally powerful episodes, and just everything going on with James and Marcus. And the acting between Makad Brooks and David Harewood and the young actor who played Marcus, they all did great in this episode. I just like I loved it. I loved it. And I'm so nice to see the focus on the African American characters in this episode, because so more often than not they're always like sidelined and stuff, and like they're especially in this season because they put so much of the focus of the story on Mon-El and his whole storyline with him and Kara, and then him with his parents and all this stuff, that like I feel like there's certain episodes where like Jean and obviously James don't get the spotlight that they should. I mean, granted, the show is called Supergirl, so it more often than not should be about Supergirl, but when you have such a great cast like this, I think it's a shame when they don't utilize their actors or their characters. Like David Harewood as well as Makad Brooks, they're phenomenal actors. And there's some people who comment on videos who don't like this version of Jimmy Olsen or James Olsen, and this episode to me defined why I love this character so much. Because when he was delving into how like the death of his dad and the bullying he experienced growing up made him kind of keep himself like a closed, like he wasn't like an open person, and it wasn't really until that he met Clark that he was able to kind of open up and break down those walls, like as he said in the episode. And I thought that was such a great line, and the way he delivered it, and it's like I kind of wish that Marcus was going to be on for a few more episodes just so James can have more of a storyline, and because
Maybe he is going to be.
Oh, is he?
I said maybe.
Oh, and I sure hope he does. I mean, granted, the young actor is probably going to be busy filming the next season of This Is Us pretty soon, but I really hope we see that Marcus character again, because I think he was like one of the emotional hearts of the episode as well as James. And while like, there was interesting stuff going on with with Mon-El's mom, Rhea, I think is her name, and Lena Luthor, who didn't really know exactly what she was getting into when she was like working with Mon-El's mom. And when they're making this portal for the Daxamites to, invade Earth, essentially. And, again, while that was cool, and it's funny because, like, for whatever reason lately, I've been realizing, like, there's something about Terry Hatcher that I don't like, and I don't know if it's the look of her acting or whatever. But to me, I don't know why, like, in this episode, more than any other episode, she reminds me of, like an evil Kris Jenner. And, like...
She's not really evil.
Well, yeah, but you guys... but you guys know what I mean. And just like the looks, like all the plastic surgery and stuff. I don't know. That's just not something. That's why I don't like him. That's just one of the things that I noticed in this episode. But I mean, Terry Hatcher's done okay. I mean, she just hasn't like wowed me, because I mean, I know she played Lois Lane and Lois and Clark, but I've only ever seen the pilot of that show, and I really enjoyed that pilot, and I liked what I saw in that pilot. But there's something about her performance in this that hasn't like grabbed me. Like I thought, like Astra in season 1 was a better character and villain than Mon-El's mom is. She just seemed like, because it was more personal, because it was Kara's aunt and not just her boyfriend's mom who's mad because her son's dating someone. You know, it's just there were more stakes there last season with Astra, and then when they kill her off, and then that's just when I think like the storyline of season 1 kind of started going downhill. But again, just going back into this episode, I mean, just so many great scenes between James and everyone. I feel like this was James' episode more than anyone else. Even Kara, I feel like was barely even there. She was kind of just there, so Supergirl can come in and save the day. Like this was, I think, just entirely James's episode, and I'm not complaining about that. And I feel like some people might, because some people obviously don't like James as a character, and don't like the fact that it's an African, like a good-looking African American guy playing him, and not just like a skinny redhead white guy, you know, playing Jimmy Olsen, because that's how he looks in the comics. But again, this episode for me just cemented why I love the James character so much, and I don't care what anyone else says. I loved this episode, and I think the show needs more episodes like this. Not necessarily just focusing on James, but just giving us a good story, and not just like a cheesy villain of the week. And there wasn't a villain of the week. I mean, yeah, you kind of had like Marcus's mom, but then you find out like it wasn't even her necessarily. It was because of what they're doing with this portal technology. It's like triggering all these aliens from that world who are telepaths. And I thought that was a pretty cool story point, and it gave the show kind of like a chance to breathe and have this nice emotionally driven episode that I feel like we haven't really had too much of this season. And I feel like we had some more of those in season 1, but in this episode, I really enjoyed what they did with James's character, and I'm really just, as a James fan, I'm really happy about that. And other than that, there's not much else to really talk about in this episode, because I mean, I've touched on essentially everything important story wise. And I do hope, kind of going back to James, I do hope that they kind of incorporate James more into the DEO, especially after this episode, because of the way he was able to connect with Marcus, that he's not just, you know, a guy who goes out and fights crime. Like I think he's a worthy asset to the team, and I think like any reason to keep Macabre Books around is good for me. But I just feel like in this episode, you know, when it starts out with like you know, that woman who was about to get like mugged or whatever by all those guys, like she was more afraid of James as guardian than she was of the muggers or whatever. And at first I thought I was like, oh, so this is the episode's way of kind of dealing with like race issues. And while the race was definitely one of the topics of the episode, it wasn't like a heavily, like it wasn't like one of the main points of the story. And I wouldn't have minded if it was, but I think the way the way that the writers handled this episode, I thought was really, really well done. And I'm just really, I mean, I'm not necessarily looking forward to the whole Daxamite thing, because I know, like, and I don't know how that's going to bring in General Zod and Superman and all these different characters for the finale. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing...
my fidget spinner.
Oh, so our cat Wes is playing with it.
That's not yours. I love you.
Oh. I love you too, Wes.
Sorry, it was that you grabbed.
Yeah, it's okay. But, again, I'm looking forward to Calista Flockhart coming back to the show. But other than that, I mean, again, I'm not jazzed about seeing Tyler Hoechlin back as Superman, because I've shared my thoughts on his version of Superman that I really don't like. I'm not really looking forward to this cheap version of General Zod, because I feel like, again, this is a show about Supergirl. Why do we need to bring in another Superman villain and Superman as well for a finale that really should be focused more on Supergirl and her supporting cast of characters, not just, oh, when we have the chance to use Superman, let's use him. Come on, guys. But other than that, I'm curious to see how the season is going to wrap up, because, yeah, as you guys know, like last season, I wasn't entirely thrilled with how the season ended, because how they used hope as a way to like snap people out of their confusion. And then in this episode, even like Amy brought up like that's kind of like a dumb way of snapping those people out, because realistically it wouldn't happen. And then I'm like, oh, then you should have seen the finale of last year. And for anyone who saw season 1 finale, you guys know what I'm talking about. But yeah, so I think with that being said, that's going to be it for me. So what did you guys think of this episode? Send your thoughts in the usual place in the comment section below. Give this video a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button for all the other content on my channel. Tomorrow night we'll be reviewing the latest episode of The Flash, as well as Wednesday night we'll be reviewing Arrow. And sorry, Amy's really into her spinner. All right, lots of train of thought. And again, thank you guys for watching, and until next time, have a good one.